These murals have become iconic statements. They're not going anywhere as long as the people support them. All the murals now in the Bogside are known as the People's Gallery. Our gallery, which closed down very recently, that was called People's Gallery too. So it's the people that matter. We acknowledge their support. That support is still as strong as it ever was, and we are in the business at the minute of restoring them, not as part of the UK City of Culture. And the murals were there before this UK City of Culture. It'll be there while it's happening, and most importantly, it'll be there when it's all over. And they become a very important part of our visitor attraction, you know. It was not our goal to set out and do that. First and foremost, we painted the murals to edify our own community, and secondly, to educate the visitor. And I think it does that. The boys, way back in the day, and we applied for, I think it was about 23, 22, I'm not sure, £1,000 for each mural. 1/4 of the murals, that is 3 murals out of 12, we would actually restore as usual in our own time, at our own expense, and we would restore them. And the rest we would approach the council with. And I think the total came to about £230,000 or something. Originally it was 180,000, but we already knew we were not going to get a penny off these people. It was tongue in cheek anyway. Altogether, the whole thing came to a year's work, and this would be the first time that we would be employed for a year, having done this for 20 years, unpaid and voluntarily, at no expense to the council or anyone else, except the one-parent families and the pensioners. That's who's always paid for the paint and the scaffolding. And this time around, we were asking the council. And the fact is, the whole thing was already done and dusted. We're not getting anything near £200,000 or anything else. We never thought we would.
Pounds, which we believed was enough to cover the costs of the restoration of the 10 murals, and awarding the Bogside Artists £45,000, which we believed was enough to cover the costs of the restoration of the 10 murals, and £20,000 for artists' fees. Unfortunately, the SDLP decided to vote against. They felt that the £45,000 should be used for 3 murals and 3 murals only, because that's all that the Bogside Artists were prepared to do for the £45,000 on offer.
As far as the funding is concerned, we were, you pay for what you get. You have internationally renowned artists who have exhibited artwork all over the world. What's the tourism value of that? The amount of visitors who come, and the first thing they ask for is we want to go and see the murals. That can't be put into, into a figure either.
We can't just award any amount of funding just because an individual or a grouping believe that they're entitled to that funding. To do otherwise would have been basically handing the Bogside Artists a blank cheque. That's what the SDLP attempted to do that day. And one of the stumbling blocks, and again unfortunately, is that the Bogside Artists were each looking for £60,000 artistic fees to carry out the restoration work in the 10 murals.
When we asked and included a fee, it was also 1/3 of what we normally would receive as comparable costings for a commission to do in China or Maribor or Wodenburg in Austria. So even then, they were still getting what I think was a very good deal. But even that was too much, How dare them Bogside Artists ask for a grant? How dare them? And now we're right back to where we were at the beginning with the people on the street. And we're restoring the mural one at a time. And that's how we're doing it, with the support of the people here. Because at the end of the day, this is the people's story. So we're putting out things on Facebook and just asking for donations or support to keep the People's Gallery, as it's now known worldwide, intact and together. And also we have a publication of our own. It's our 4th publication actually. One of the publications was called Art and Healing, and when that sold, we were able to invest the money back into the murals again.
Also, while we were repairing this mural, the duration, we were here for about 4 weeks or so, and almost every single day, Derry people, local Derry people, coming by the corner, saying to us about the deal with Derry City Council, how upset they were, how disgusted they were. Some were putting their hands in their pockets, they were pulling out 50p's, £1 coins, whatever they could afford.
That puts us right back on the street with the people again,
and putting out a call for support and donations. But with the sale of our book as well, you know, we sell a book, we buy a ton of paint.
People were pulling up in their cars, particularly women were pulling up in their cars. They were approaching us. They were telling us things like, we've just painted up our house, the children's bedrooms and so on, and we have some paint left. It may be pink, it may be lavender and colours like that, but could you use it? And we said, of course we could use it, you know, knowing that we never may do, but it was a thought, it was a gesture.
It is absolutely disgusting and ridiculous that after all these years and what these murals have brought to this city and the economic benefits that it's brought to the city, but everybody knows that most people are coming here, are coming to see the murals. That's just a fact. And the sad thing is that, yeah, we are working from the back of our car. That's our new studio gallery, and practically it's not the best situation to be in, but we do what it takes to preserve these murals.
After that whole debacle in Derry City Council and what Derry City Council did to the Bogside Artists, we were here on the street shortly after it, and the support from the local community was overwhelming and very encouraging, and that's what will keep us going. The encouragement from the ordinary people. The ordinary people in this community want the murals. They've been here almost 20 years now, and they're a part of the Derry landscape as much as that wall over there. It says you're now entering Free Derry, or as much as that Hitch Block monument or anything else in this street. These murals, 2 generations of young Derry children have come up in recent times, and in their lifetime they've only known these murals on this street. So these murals will remain on the street as long as the local community, and especially the people that live behind the murals, as long as they want them to be there, they will be there.
Because not just because of our own, you know, egos, but preserve them because of the community response here locally and how important the murals have become for them and the respect that they give them. And therefore, you know, we're here this summer to make sure that they're preserved and restored and brought back to their original standing in the city.
British Army cannot just walk around here because there's nobody on the barricades. Now, I want men here, the men standing around here, to divide themselves up. We are in here. The police, the B specials are right out, and the army are between the two of us. And that is the way we want it.
Myself, Tom and Will, we're from here. We were 11 years old when the conflict began in 1969. We're the children of 1969. We grew up in this conflict. This conflict was part of our life. And everything revolved around the conflict. Our homes was raided. We have family members murdered by the British Army, and so on, just like a lot of people here. And most people have expressed their experiences in many ways, and everyone has a story to tell, and everyone should have the right to tell that story, no matter how they tell it. You know, whether they sing and dance about it, or they paint it on a wall, it is important. It's absolutely right there and vitally important.
They challenged us, so-called challenged us, you know, and reminding us, this is Eric McGillney from Paisley, Scotland, reminding us that there's people in those murals that have actually died, you know. Well, we know, because some of them were family members. They questioned our commitment of 20 years of working on the street here, you know, voluntarily. They questioned our commitment.
We grew up here, and you know, between the three of us, we happened to be able to paint, and art was our escape, I suppose, from the conflict. At least, you know, we were fortunate in that sense when a lot of other people had no more or hadn't any outlets to kind of escape. But we could escape from it by using art and expressing ourselves.
I don't have any problem with Sinn Féin. I don't have any trouble with Sinn Féin. I'm not against them on any personal level or any political level. It's not my interest. I'm an artist, not a politician. I'm not a historian either. I'm an artist, that's it.
This is why we did this on this street. This is not just any street. This is not just about painting any mural on any available wall. This is Rossville Street. This is probably one of the most historical streets in Ireland. This has seen a Bloody Sunday, the Battle of Bogside, and just the general battle area of Derry for almost 40 years. This street, and there just happened to be, you know, 6 blocks of flats on one side of it, you know. and they got gable ends in both ends, which make up 12, and they're all exactly the same dimensions. Look at the other side of Rosswell Street. There is no flats with big gable walls, just all on this side of the street. And to us, that was an open canvas, that was a blank canvas on such a historical street. And this is our way of expressing what we experience, not only us but the entire community, and that's what the mural's about. They're not propaganda, they don't glorify any political point of view. We are telling our story, but through the murals here in the Bogside.
Amateur painter myself, so I know the quality and the standard of the the art that's on display, and especially they put it into a mural form. Has got a particular artistic skill, and these guys are fantastic at it, And can you imagine the Bogside Artists having art pieces all over the world, and yet the ones in Derry are let they go to deteriorate? That would be an absolute crime. A couple of generations from now, that's going to be historic art. And if you have the actual luxury of having the artists available to do the restoration for you, it would be like asking Van Gogh to restore one of his own paintings. That's the quality of the work we're talking here.
What we're doing at the moment there, when you've seen us carrying the paints over here to the mural today, is that we're doing some repair work, obviously, but we're painting outdoor, and we know that even the paints that we use are your standard household paints, and maybe the finer details of the mural are painted with acrylic and so on and so forth. But anyway, at the end of the day, we do know that the murals will eventually suffer from the elements, and that's what's happened here. It's basically the elements taking their toll. Sunshine directly on some of the murals that we used a lot of colour in. The colour will fade eventually, let's say over maybe 10 years or so on, and like this one behind me here, the runner, it's generally just around the bottom area of this mural. I don't think it was so much a case of the elements, maybe to a certain extent, but many years ago when we were struggling, and we got a small grant one time. It was a European grant, actually. We contracted a local guys. They kind of like moved graffiti, sealed walls against graffiti, and so on. And we asked them, to prime some of these walls for us, prepare them for us before we paint it. And unfortunately, we don't think that they held up to their side of the deal. We think it was the case that it wasn't prepared properly by the guys that we had contracted, so anyhow, that's what we're doing right now. We're going to get it right this time. Probably it used to be not so much now, but a few years ago, a lot of young teenagers used to hang around this corner here behind me, and I think maybe once one flake of paint began to peel, and when you're a young teenager and there's something sticking out and like a piece of paint, and you're tempted to grab it and pull and see how much you can get off. So it's been a lot of that. It'll not take us long to repair this one, because as I say, it's only around the bottom part of the mural, and we shouldn't be too long. We've already put the preparation work on it. We've already put the sealant on it. We've done some other work, and it's just, as you can see here behind me now, just a bit of a patch-up job. The motorman is done now, and that was important to us. This one went very quickly, to our surprise. We went back to it, I think maybe about 2 years ago. We fixed it up, we painted it, and not too long after it began, they fade again. Anyway, this is all the trial and errors of painting murals outdoor, and it's all a learning process, obviously. We went down to a local hire company here in Derry called Pro Hire, and a gentleman down there called Charlie, and we went down. We had £100 because some people had given us some donations, and we went down to Charlie and we said, Charlie, look, we're looking for a cherry picker. That's a scissors lift to get us up and down the mural. We have only £100. Could you cut us a bit of slack?
Three boys showed up and basically plea bargained. They explained a wee bit about their funding was coming short or taking off them, so they just plea bargained with me and see what I could do. As I say, any time I drove through the city in the Bogside, I was just appreciative of what they were doing, and I was glad to help. The three artists arrived into the shop, but I've done a bit of business with them previously before, and just basically asked me to could contribute. So I agreed to provide the service free of charge. I think they did a couple of murals, which took about 4 weeks. So I was happy enough with that, you know. Quite an expensive piece of equipment, you know. I think one of the boys, I think it was William, said he's just getting too old to climb scaffold. So that's why I agreed to do it, like, you know. They've been very thankful on the Facebook pages. But that's good for me too, you know. People are seeing it, you know, and they are appreciative boys, like, you know. I was always very appreciative of their work, you know. Driving through the Bogside, you know, the murals always told a great story of the history of Derry, like, so when they came to me, I was just more than glad to help them out. You know, with tourism not there, these murals, they brighten the place up, and they also tell a story to people visiting the city. So I was just happy to help them.
It takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of time and energy. We've always worked on the murals on a voluntary basis, and after 20 years of acclaim, both at home and abroad, it's sad to see that we're still back to square one here. Hard going. I mean, I don't have any source of income. My wife works full time, therefore I'm not eligible for anything except a stamp. That's it. So that's my income. I have a very understanding wife who fully supports me in what I do, and I've got two of a family. I have an 8-year-old boy, just at school, and it's a struggle, but that's okay.
I have a family, you know, and as Tom was saying there as well, like, and you know, and we're struggling, you know, like, but everyone's struggling right now in times of recession and austerity and so on and so forth. But you know, Derry, you know, Derry's always had a credit crunch. You know, we grew up in credit crunch with milk and sugar on it.
At the end of the day, you know, we're not going to let it bend us and shape us into being bitter and twisted people. We're positive in our outlook. We believe our work is meaningful, especially the reconciliation work that we've been doing down through the years. Nearly 30 years we've been doing that, bringing young Protestant Catholic children together to build up as opposed to breaking down, and to create as opposed to destroy. So it's nice and meaningful to be able to pass the skill on as well. So outside of the Bogside Artists, I mean, personally, I have my home, my family.
Family obviously comes first, you know, and so it's kind of like whatever we do, whether we're painting murals, whether we're you know, doing workshops or whatever, yeah, it can be very stressful on the family, yeah, and indeed, and I suppose maybe wives say you might be hearing a whole different story, but anyway, fair play to them. They stand by us because they know we're men of principles.
So where are we, city culture? Do you know where we are? We don't exist. But that's a mistake, because we know, and everybody else knows, when the documentary makers and the magazine makers, when they photograph the children with their balloons on the Peachbury, that they finally make their way to the Bogside, even though there's only one sign that's taken us 16 years at the end of the street here saying the People's Gallery. Now, in any other city in the world, the second largest, if not the largest tourist attraction, you'd think there would be a signpost there. Well, get real, people, because they do not want you to see this. They do not want this to be noticed. They do not want this to be marketed. They do not want you directed to it. They do not want it to be seen. But the people don't get to know any of that. All they get to know is Bogside are three greedy pigs trying to capitalise on the conflict, trying to cash in on UK city culture. Bogside Artists are not, and never will be, taking anything from the Hear's purse. We'll leave that to the rest of them.